Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 146 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode, it's the first game of the group stage for the Champions League in 2033 as we take on Shakhtar from Ukraine, and off the back of that we are going to play in an Icelandic Cup final against Valur. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, we'll also check in on HK down in the Europa League at some stage as well. Then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But first things first, today we are going to focus on the Champions League for the first game. There is the group which did get drawn at the end of yesterday's episode, which was a big one. If you missed that, I'll leave a link to it in the top right corner, and we ended up in quite a strong group with 3 teams, including us in this group, who made the knockouts of the Champions League last season. So already there's going to be one team who would be disappointed if they did make their way down to the Europa League, and hopefully that is not us, as we have Juventus and Sevilla alongside us in this group. But we've got a pretty nice first game here, a chance for us to get early points on the board at home, as we do take on the team who should, in theory, be the whipping boys of this group in Shakhtar Donetsk. At least hopefully it's the case when we play them. If they can take some points off of Sevilla or Juventus, that would actually be quite useful for us in the overall picture of this group. But before we do get into Champions League action in today's episode, first off, a little bit of a domestic recap off the back of where we did leave things at the end of yesterday's episode, off the back of that second leg win in that Champions League playoff against Legia Warsaw. Off the back of that, we did have a Multiplier and Icelandic Cup semi-final, picked up a pretty comfortable 3-0 win here, with most of our first choice players backing up from that prior win against Legia Warsaw, 3-0 there away from home. So we are through to the Multiplier and final, and as I mentioned earlier, that is the second game of today's episode, where we do take on Valur. But off the back of that, we did play another 5 games in the league and continue to be unbeaten in that competition. We did actually have to play for an international break at one point during that little period. In that game there against Nuts KR, we put out a very, very interesting lineup for that one, with a lot of players aren't available, having to call up some players from the under-19s. A game we really should have won by a lot more, hitting the woodwork 3 times, but we still picked up a 1-0 win and are on again potentially for an unbeaten season, having won our games in and around that quite comfortably. It was a little bit close there against Phil here at home after we did get up 2-0 inside the first half in that one, but we do still remain unbeaten domestically, and that means that we have gone top of the table with 1 game in hand over HK. We are 7 points clear, and as you can see on screen, us and HK have already guaranteed those Champions League qualifying spots for next season, which are going to be in pretty similar stages to where they were this season. We're going to be entering yet again in a Champions League playoff. I think HK, though, enter in the 3rd qualifying round on the league path side instead of the 2nd qualifying round, so that guarantees them a place in the group stages of a European competition next season as well. But you'd like to think, with those games in hand and that 7-point gap we do have on HK, that we are on to win the league again. But because we have guaranteed a top 2 spot, that does mean we have got our transfer budget for next season when that does open in February. Not quite as much as it was this time last season, when we had around about 40 million to spend, but still a good budget there of 28 million, albeit the wage budget has also lowered quite significantly from that big one we had last season. We have around about £67,000 left in that one, so definitely a little bit of room there for us to improve the squad yet again, especially once we shift a few things around financially, and if we can manage to sell a few players when we do eventually get knocked out of Europe, or hopefully go one better than last season and pick up our first Champions League title. One more thing that we should cover off before we get stuck into Champions League action, because I forgot to do this in yesterday's episode, seeing as it was such a big one, but a quick look at how the coefficient table does look off the back of the qualifying stages for Europe this season. We are on a 2.6 this season. We're getting rid of a quite good year, our 2nd best one so far in this save. That was when we made the final of the Europa League. So we're going to be getting rid of quite a good year, but if we can try and match what we've done the last 2 seasons, hopefully we're not going to drop off too much there on the coefficient table. But so far we are on a 2.6, which is pretty good in comparison to most of the nations in and around us. But at the moment we would be dropping down 2 places on the coefficient table, as Russia and the Czech Republic would currently be going ahead of us, albeit Serbia we would be going ahead of, so it's actually in fact only dropping down 1 place, but I'm hopeful that we can somehow stay above both Russia and Czech Republic this season and get above Serbia and potentially maybe even Austria to sneak our way inside that top 10 at the end of this European season. So it's going to be a little bit of a potentially tough season for us here on the coefficient table, but that should be offset the 2 years after that when we get rid of some pretty average years there with a 5.7 and a 5.6. But it is time for us to get stuck into Champions League group action. As I said, a bit of a group of death that we do have here in the Champions League this season. 3 teams who made the knockouts of this competition last season, even though we did defeat Sevilla in the first knockout round. So I'd like to think we can finish above those guys and Shakhtar, which would guarantee us a spot in the knockouts. But it would be really nice if we could find a way to top this group and hopefully get easier opposition in the first knockout round of the Champions League. But today is an absolute must-win game when you do look at this group at home, taking on Shakhtar Donetsk. As I said, this team probably going to end up being the whipping boys of this group. No disrespect to them, but when you look at the other 3 teams in this group, I think it's going to be a fight between us to see which 2 teams do end up in the knockouts of the Champions League. They are a 3.5-star reputation club, are Shakhtar, with us being 4-star rated these days. You'd like to think that we can get the job done here in our first game of the group stages. In terms of our squad going in to this first game, unfortunately, we've had to make one little change in terms of our starting 11. Fabio Mariano comes in for Kalen Rakasan, who did suffer an injury recently in the lead up to the start of this Champions League group stage. He has recovered, but isn't quite on a full green heart. I feel like this is a game where Fabio Mariano can do the job for us in place of Kalen Rakasan. But apart from that, we are at full strength with that addition of Filippo Dinelli alongside Ali Ramadan at centre-back, which we did make in yesterday's episode. But this should be a game. In fact, both games today should be games which we are winning, and this one very important, so we get off to a good start in this Champions League group. And we'll come back shortly from the Laugaras Villa to kick off the group stages against Shakhtar. And only 2 minutes into this one, we do have the first highlight. Shakhtar pump that deep after they briefly get possession back there as we were on the attack, but Husavik comes out and sweeps that over to Ali Ramadan. And we do look to play out from the back here. Hopefully we can get off to a nice quick start and make sure that Shakhtar are on the back foot nice and early in this one. As I said, 3 points in the group which we are in this season, absolutely essential here in this home game. Nice ball there for Zimmerman, but blasts it wide. Still 0-0 early on here in this first game of the group stage. And we go forward now to the 21-minute mark for our next highlight. And Shakhtar do have a player off the field there, as you can see, albeit now he joins things off the back of that front. And Shakhtar do get the ball back there as we try and play one into the mixer, albeit good work there from Fabio Mariano to get things back for us. And we now try and get something going here down our left-hand side. Kenny Boreal over there for Chaka Traore, gets a header off it, saved, and then his next shot comes off the upright. So a few good chances there for our left winger, but still 0-0 coming up to the 25-minute mark. And about 10 minutes off the back of that previous highlight, we do have our next one. Traore there for Shakhtar, tries to flick that on, but in the end it is straight into the path of Husavik. So yet again here in the driving rain at the Laugaras Villa. This is going to be one of our last games in the group stages of this tournament at the Laugaras Villa. Our new stadium is going to be completed in November next year, so only 2 more years of playing our Champions League games away from home. But we are on the attack here yet again. Adam Sakhi right in front of goal, but that shot goes straight at the path of Kluben, albeit we will get a corner out of this. So we're looking threatening enough, but no reward for that so far, and nothing comes from the subsequent corner. And in fact, this could be potentially here a chance for Shakhtar on the counter attack, but Mariano with a pretty smart foul there, and it's still 0-0 just past the half-hour mark. And 10 minutes shy of half-time, we do have a free kick here for Shakhtar. Golovin puts that into the mixer. That is the Golovin that you are probably familiar with. He is still around in the save, but a great chance here for Chaka Traore, but tries to beat the goalkeeper at his near post, sends it over the bar, and it's still 0-0 here late in the first half. And that is half-time here in this first game of the group stages of the Champions League. And so far, we've just been a little bit disappointing in front of goal. 13 shots, 4 on target. Should have won in the back of the net based on our XG. But so far, it is 0-0, albeit most players out there are performing quite well, so we'll tell them to improve here in the team talk and hopefully get something on the score sheet here in the second half. And early on here in the second half, we do have a highlight which does start here with a goal kick to Shakhtar. They pumped this deep, and Sakhi and Mariano with a little bit of a 1-2 there. We did nearly lose possession, but thankfully we keep it and hopefully can open the scoring here nice and early in this half. But we do give the ball away here, and Traore starts to make his way forward, albeit good slide tackle there from Lassana Doumbia to get possession back for us, and we try and get something going here down our right-hand side. Nicola Zimmerman, Levan Tam, nice ball over here for Lassana Doumbia. He did all the good work there with that slide tackle to get possession back for us and fizzes that right inside the inner box, and it's a simple tap-in into the bottom left corner there for Adam Sakhi. And finally, after a pretty average first half there, probably should have been 1-0 up at half-time, but thankfully, nice and early on here in the second half, we get our goal, 1-0 Volsungur, 5 minutes into the second half. And just past the hour mark, we're going to make our first substitution at this time. There's no players on a red heart, but Levan Tam is struggling out there on a 6-point free, so we'll give some game time to Louis Herrera. He'll go at left back. Kenny Boreal will switch out right for the last half hour, still 1-0 up. And not too long off the back of that first substitution, we do get possession back there through Basaroge and look to mount something here from the back. One more goal would be nice, because if Shakhtar can get one back here, they are right back in this one. It would be nice to get a cushion goal and just make sure that we should be taking home all 3 points from this game. Would have been nice if we scored in that first half, but it wasn't to be. But Nicola Zimmerman is now inside the box, fizzes that in yet again for Adam Sakhi. This time he rifles that into the top right corner, and our Moroccan striker proving very important for us here in the second half in front of goal, and that is the cushion goal that we were after with 20 minutes left in this one. Thumps that top right corner, and it's 2-0 Volsungur. And now we go forward to the 74-minute mark. Time for us to make our second substitution. Lassana Doumbia has gone down to a red heart. Karel Giroux will come on for him. Don't think we need to make any more substitutions just yet, but with 16 minutes left, we are still 2-0 up here against Shakhtar at home. Albeit we just go off the back of that highlight, and now Traore is down to a red heart, so we'll probably bring Shaun on for him at the end of this highlight, but we'll see what happens here first, just to make sure that things do continue. When we get that out to Kenny Boreal today on the right-hand side for the latter part of this one, and that's a nice switch there from Nicola Zimmerman over to Fabio Mariano, albeit he does lose possession. Balanov with a terrible back pass. Adam Sakhi makes the most of it. It's his 31st goal of the season. He starts the group stages with a hat-trick. That is an absolute shocker there from the Shakhtar defender. Mariano loses possession. You think here that will be that highlight done, but Balanov with a terrible back pass, and Sakhi will complete his hat-trick there with an absolute gift that makes it 3-0 with 14 minutes left, and that should wrap this result up. We'll make that change though off the back of that highlight. Jonada to come on for Traore. That's our last sub used with 14 minutes left. And we are about to approach injury time in this game. A very clinical performance, even if we didn't get on the score sheet in the first half. Shakhtar so far yet to get a single shot off in this game, albeit they get one off very, very late. But in the end, that was complete domination, even though it took us until the 52-minute mark to open the scoring. And as you would expect from us, we pick up 3 points in this first game of our Champions League group stage, and that is largely thanks to the efforts of Adam Sakhi picking up a second half hat-trick, and those are 3 very, very important points in this tough group, which we do find ourselves in. We were the early kickoff for this first game of the Champions League, so not quite sure what's happened yet between Juventus and Sevilla. Ideally, that would be a draw in that game and just leave us on top of the group by ourselves. But we'll come back shortly before we do get stuck into the Icelandic Cup final against Valur. Update you guys on the result from that Juventus-Sevilla game, as well as do a little bit of a check-in on HK down in the Europa League. And we are back prior to taking part here in another Malka Bickerin final against Valur, but we do have the result from that other game in our group stage, which did kick off at a later time. Despite a late red card there to Juventus, they have still managed to pick up a 1-0 win away there at Sevilla. So far we are top of the group on goal differential, but if we can beat Sevilla in the first game of tomorrow's episode, that should mean that both us and Juventus are on 6 points and Shakhtar and Sevilla on 0 points. That second game of tomorrow's episode, where we do take on Juventus in Italy, could be quite a big one in seeing who gets the early advantage potentially on top of the group, but that is entirely dependent on what happens in that home game against the Sevilla team, which we did knock out in the first knockout round of that Champions League last season. But while we are talking about Europe, before we do get stuck in to this domestic cup final, first things first, we will go check in on how HK got on in their first game of the group stages of the Europa League. Of course, they did find themselves in quite a tough group for the Europa League, I did feel like, alongside Valencia, Montpellier and Lazio, and unfortunately they suffered a pretty heavy defeat there to Montpellier. Amin Ghali picking up a double in that game for Montpellier, and they pick up a 4-1 win, even with a late red card there. One of our former players, Mikhail Bedrzicki, did get a late goal back, but in the end it was just a consolation one, albeit currently they find themselves third in that group thanks to goal differential. So if they can just somehow find a way to stay in third position, of course they'd drop down into the knockouts of the Conference League, which would be quite interesting, but not a good start there for HK. It is fair to say a 4-1 loss at home to Montpellier, albeit they are above Lazio on goal differential. But we are about to get stuck in now to this Molke-Bikeren final against Valur. We did play one game off the back of that first group game in the Champions League, picked up a 3-0 win against Breidablik. So we are really now on the verge of picking up the league title here over HK. We've got a 10-point gap on them, and there's only 4 games left in the season. If they drop any points in their next one, it does look like it's going to be all over Red Rover, especially because we've got games coming up against Shaun, among others, a double against those guys who are down in the relegation zone. But our opposition in this cup final is Valur, a team which were right up there at the start of this save. They've been a little bit mid-table ever since then, currently find themselves just outside of a European qualifying spot, as you can see, albeit they could still potentially jump above someone like Nuts KR into one of those Conference League qualifying spots for next season. But this is a game, especially with us again using our first choice players, that we should be winning and trying to win this Icelandic Cup yet again, taking on a team with a very similar record in this competition to us, albeit not quite as recently, as they have won this competition 11 times, but 2.5-star reputation club, mid-table team here in Iceland, should be a team which we are very capable of beating, especially with the lineup which we are going to use in this game. Very similar team to what we put out for that first game of the group stages of the Champions League, but Kalen Rakasan is back up to a full green heart, so comes back in there for Fabio Maliano. Also on the bench, Radenko Krolo is going to be our bench option there. He can cover both sides at left back and right back instead of Luis Herrera, who can only cover left back. So Krolo here domestically is going to get a little bit more game time, but a shortened bench here for this cup final. So DePrisco, Maliano, Jonata and Hercules Delfino, who picked up a hat-trick in that win over Breidablik, are going to be our bench options in this one. But as I said, should be a game that ends up with a comfortable win for us, and hopefully our 10th Icelandic Cup, so we can get a little bit closer to that record which Valur do hold, and we'll come back shortly with the action in this Icelandic Cup final. And we have a highlight immediately from the kickoff here in this Icelandic Cup final. Valur at home in the red with the white shorts. We again are in the all green, and they try and get something going here down their left-hand side, but hopefully we'll get possession back soon, and indeed we do, as they try and play a ball there over the top, and Filippo Donelli tidies things up. A little bit of an interesting back pass there from Basaroge, somewhat reminiscent of what happened in the semi-finals of the Champions League last season against Chelsea, but thankfully this time Hujluvik tidies things up, and we steadily look to make our way forward the field here. Chaka Traore just holding things up for us there, plays it over for Lasana Dumbia out to Nicholas Zimmerman on the edge of the box, back to Levan Tam, back in there for Zimmerman. We'll square that for Sakhi, goes out for a corner, so that's a very similar chance to one which was saved in that first game against Shakhtar in the Champions League, but we do still have a corner from this one, albeit Valur deal with that fairly safely. But for now, this highlight does continue, and Dumbia puts the ball over the top for Kalen Rakasan into the top left corner, and he comes back into the team with a very, very early goal here in this Molke-Bikeren final, and we go up nice and early in this one. Some good early pressure And a nice ball there from Lasana Dumbia. Good finish from Rakasan. 1-0 Volsungur after only a minute and a half. And up to the 5-minute mark for our next highlight in this one. We are on the attack here down the left-hand side. Kenny Boreal puts this one into the mixer. Lasana Dumbia back for Kalen Rakasan. Nicholas Zimmerman, who did have a decent chance off the back of that previous goal, but it was a pretty weak effort this time. He hits the upright, so early on, all action in this one for us, but still only 1-0 coming up to the 10-minute mark. And we go forward now just shy of the quarter of an hour mark. We have a corner. We put that one into the mix a bit. Filippo Danelli, new to the club, hasn't actually trained yet for set pieces for us, so that might be why he didn't get his head on the end of that. We have been very busy fixture-wise since we did enter that Club World Cup, but Kenny Boreal this time puts the ball into the mixer. Lasana Dumbia will tidy things up as a motorbike nearly scares the bejesus out of me outside the house, but we are still on the attack here. Kenny Boreal yet again tries to put a ball over the top, but it is cut out from Valur, and they will try and build from the back here, albeit they play that back to their goalkeeper. Good header one there from Basaroge, and we are on the counter-attack. Nicholas Zimmerman, good chance, but again, bit of a weak shot from him this time. The goalkeeper holds it, and it's still 1-0 Volsungur, just past the 15-minute mark, albeit we have a corner right off the back of that. Yet again, we can't link up with anyone there at the near post, but Dumbia will get us back here into the midfield and inside the final third. Kalen Rakasan out to Kenny Boreal in a lot of space. What can he do as he takes his time? Chakachare for Lasana Dumbia doesn't opt for the shot, which I thought he might do there briefly, but is back on the ball here and takes that out to the right-hand side. Nicholas Zimmerman back for Levan Tam. Rakasan, good short passing, falls to Zimmerman, puts it in the bottom right corner, but this time the goal is going to get ruled out for offside. Might have to see this one because it did look like quite a close call. Still does, and I'm not actually too sure if the player was offside actually got involved when that play happened, so not too sure why that one was ruled out, but still 1-0 up here after 20 minutes in this Icelandic Cup final. And not too long off the back of that previous highlight, we did have a free kick, but we kicked that straight into the hands of the Valur goalkeeper, albeit he will give us possession straight back here, and hopefully, much like that last game against Shakhtar Donetsk, after a good start, we can get a cushion goal here, albeit a lot earlier than we did in that Champions League game. But so far, yet again, some good early domination from us here. Nice ball over for Chakachare, slide tackle. It falls to Kalen Rakasan, and that is a good save there from the Valur goalkeeper. So we're creating a lot of chances so far in this Icelandic Cup final, but so far it is only 1-0, albeit it is cleared away there from the Valur defender, and we are going to get a chance here with another corner after 22 minutes. Dumbia puts this one into the mixer, but unfortunately, yet again, no one can get their head on the end of that, and still 1-0 halfway through the first half. And we go forward a bit more for our next highlight. Up to the 38-minute mark, we have another corner, which we can't link up with anyone from, but Lasana Dumbia puts this in for Ali Ramadan, comes off the post, and Adam Sakhi can't bundle that over the line. We are still well and truly dominant in this game, but somehow only find ourselves 1-0 up, albeit we have a corner here. Danelli gets his head on the end of it up off the post, but he puts that away on the second attempt. And finally, we get our 2-goal advantage here, which has been a long time coming. And that is Filippo Danelli's first goal since joining us here at Volsungur. Yet again, we hit the post, but he follows up, puts it away with the goalkeeper having already attempted a save. And it is 2-0 Volsungur just shy of half-time. And it is half-time in this cup final. Complete domination from us so far. We should really be up by a much bigger scoreline than 2-0. Very similar case there to that previous game against Shakhtar Donetsk, but everyone playing well, so no changes needed as we kick off the second 45 minutes. And just shy of 10 minutes into the second half, Kenny Boreal has picked up a yellow card. Don't feel like we need to take any risks in this game, and it is a good time to give Radenko Krolo some late minutes in this one to get a good rating, so he'll come on with just under 40 minutes left. And not too long off the back of that first substitution, we are about to have a free kick, and Nicholas Zimmerman there gets an open header, but blasts it over the bar, still 2-0, just past the hour mark. And shortly off the back of that chance to Nicholas Zimmerman is a goal kick here for Valur, but a good tackle there from Chakachare means that we do get possession back, and Radenko Krolo will pass that to Kalen Rakasan, gets it back, nice ball over the top there, albeit I think Sakhi, or potentially it was Chakachare, but nonetheless, that player was offside, and we have to start again off the back of that clearance from the Valur goalkeeper. But so far, very much like against Shakhtar good performance, but we could certainly be winning this game by a much larger scoreline, albeit we are still on the attack here as Rakazan puts that in for Sakhi Dumbia. Zimmerman, nice ball there for Sakhi, tries to beat the goalkeeper at his near post, but a good fist to that there from Sigkalson, I believe that is, in goal for Valur. We have a corner off the back of that, but Valur deal with that safely, and it is still 2-0 at the 63-minute mark as Radenko Krolo goes back to get possession back for us. Indeed, that's the end of the highlights, still 2-0 with 25 minutes left. And up to the 71-minute mark, we're going to make our last few substitutions at this time. We do have Basaro Gay down to a red heart. Deprisco will come on for him, and Ali Ramadan will go into the DM role. And also Nicholas Zimmerman was one of the players on a heavy workload going into this game, so we'll bring Jonata on for him for these last 20 minutes. Still 2-0 up. And very shortly off the back of those substitutions, we do have a free kick here. Chaka Traore will try and put this top left corner. It kisses the crossbar, in fact, bumps off the crossbar. Valur have to clear things, and it is still only 2-0 late here in this cup final, albeit we are shown the highlight off the back of the throw, but unfortunately Krolo can't quite link up there with Jonata, but we get the ball back not too long off the back of that and try and get something going here. What looks like down our left-hand side as Gaetano Deprisco plays the ball forward, albeit that is cleared away, but only as far as Levan Tam. Nice ball over there for Chaka Traore. It's a wonderful flick on there from Adam Sakhi, quite similar to a goal we scored in qualifying yesterday against Legia Warsaw, and that will seal this Icelandic Cup final. Not that Valur have looked that threatening so far in this one, and that makes it 3-0 here in our first goal of the second half. Nice little flick on header there from Chaka Traore, and Sakhi thumps that into the top right corner, and it should be all sewn up here with 16 minutes left. And shortly off the back of that third goal, we are back down there in for a corner, and Filippo Donelli yet again will hit the upright. That ball back in there from Dumbia isn't quite on target, and still somehow it's only 3-0. We could clearly be winning this cup final by a much bigger scoreline, but off the back of that chance there for Donelli to make it a double, we are back in possession. Rakasan, nice ball over there for Adam Sakhi, but blast that just wide of the post, and somehow, as I said, still only 3-0 coming up towards the last 10 minutes of this game, but yet again another highlight, and this time it might be Valur on the counter-attack as good Jonsson has some space there down their right-hand side, plays that back in for Olafsson, and that's a missed header there from Filippo Donelli, but thankfully we get back and cover things, albeit Valur are still on the attack, but good work there from Chaka Traore, albeit can clear that only as far as Paul Veldson, and Valur, for the first time in this game, get a period of attacking pressure, but great work there from Jonata, albeit can't quite link up with Adam Sakhi there, and yet again, Valur are on the attack. Oskarsson makes his way into the box. Good Jonsson, great chance there for Stefansson, but a really good fist on that from Husavik to just tip that over the bar and keep it a clean sheet in this one. We'll see if anything comes from the subsequent corner. In fact, Deprisco gets pushed. Still 3-0 as we enter the last 10 minutes. And we are about to enter injury time here in this cup final. It has been completely one-way traffic apart from that most recent highlight. We're going to end the game with an XG higher than 5, so we really should be winning this by a bigger scoreline than 3-0, 43 shots, 19 on target. But unfortunately, the woodwork did deny us there a few times, but we still pick up our third domestic trophy of the season and are pretty much now locked in with that big advantage we do have in the league for yet another domestic quadruple. But that was a very comfortable win there yet again by a scoreline over 3-0 as we pick up our 10th Icelandic Cup of the save over Valur. And back in the inbox off the back of that second game of today's episode, as you can see on screen, yet again we pick up the Mulkabikaran. That is the 7th time in a row that we have won. That might actually be longer. We'll go over and have a look, and we'll just count these up. And indeed, that is actually the 8th straight season that we have won the Mulkabikaran. In fact, make it 9, of course, because they haven't quite updated that for 2033 yet. So we are on some roll in this competition these days, and that is our 10th overall win in the competition. But that's how we'll end things in today's episode. As I said, picking up our 10th Icelandic Cup there, on the verge of winning yet another league title, and also picking up 3 points in the first game of our Champions League group against Shakhtar. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up, on the video. And if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. We'll come back tomorrow and have two massive games in the group stages of this Champions League. First off, Sevilla at home, followed up by a trip to Italy to take on last year's quarterfinalists in Juventus. That will be a big episode in seeing where we could potentially finish in this group. But until then, two big games coming up tomorrow in our Champions League group. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.